Thank you. There is one question that we'll need to, we'll allow to be asked, and then we'll go on. I think someone has a question for you. Representative Jordan.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you please state your name for the record?
My name's Linda Goodman.
Ms. Goodman? Just for clarification, because a lot of folks who've been coming up have talked about the definition in vagueness as it stands with the law, can you please clarify the EEOC federal definition defining sexual orientation?
Sexual orientation means homosexuality, heterosexuality, or bisexuality.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Further questions? Thank you. Janet Bryant. Welcome to State Affairs.
Thank you. Chairman Lurcher, representatives.
Please state your name for the record.
Yeah, my name is Janet Bryant. I've been married for 51 years and pay taxes in Idaho. This bill is presented as a beautiful bouquet of flowers, but inside is a hand grenade with the pin already pulled. I speak in opposition to House Bill 2. Although proponents of this bill say there is wording for religious freedom in this bill, I can't find the page and line. Last night, Boise City Council President Mary Ann Jordan says there has been no, quote, criminal, end quote, prosecution yet for ordinances violations for this LGBT ordinance. She also said that HB 2 is like Boise City's ordinance. So which is it, civil, criminal? Since she was given preferential treatment in speaking, I assume what she said was considered very important by the State Affairs Committee and accurate. I'm confused on that. I am a retired public school teacher in Idaho. I'm also a mother and a grandmother. I feel this bill tramples on my rights and freedoms as well as those of my kids and grandkids. There is no definition of gender identity or sexual orientation in this bill. Yesterday, I called Linda Goodman at the Idaho Human Rights Commission, and she defined it as what gender a person identifies with at whatever point in time, end quotes. And she said, quote, it is up to the person, end quote, to decide. Coming from the commission who will enforce this bill, this sounds very fluid and vague. Again, as a former public school teacher, I am concerned how this bill, if passed, will be implemented in the public schools. Since gender identity seems to be whatever one claims at the moment, I am concerned that by claiming simply to feel feminine, a person born male will be able to use the little girl's bathroom in our Idaho schools. This has happened in Orono, Maine. The Maine Human Rights Commission ruled a 5th grade boy had to be allowed to use the girls' bathroom, refusing the school's offer of a separate bathroom. Students can't be protected under current laws. I have a friend who has an autistic son who was in that 8th grade hormone-challenged age, and he was treated so badly, bullied so badly in the Meridian school system that he went over the edge, tried to burn down his house with his parents asleep. The school seemed totally helpless to prevent the bullying, so I don't see that this is going to, but it is going to cause a lot of other conflicts. At Evergreen State College, in my home state of Olympia, Washington, the Olympia High School girls swim team complained about a naked man in their sauna. Girls as young as 6 use this facility for swim teams. The college said they had to allow this transgender male to use their facilities. If this law passes, this will happen in Idaho schools. The episode certainly violated the girls' rights to privacy, and this person had no concern about the effects of exhibitionism on the girls, or he would have covered himself up. He didn't want to live and let live. He wanted to shock these little girls. As a teacher of both junior high and high school students, I assure you that students, high school students, hormonally challenged kids live to push the boundaries. Boys and girls will be switching restrooms just to be ornery and because they can. If you've raised teenagers or you've been around them, you know this is the way it is. With cameras and phones and stalls without complete privacy, it's going to be an ugly situation. How will schools implement this law and protect the other students as well? Teachers can't be checking restrooms, so who will? I mean, we had to be out in the hall monitoring traffic between the periods, but what goes on in the restrooms, there was no way we could monitor that. Schools will certainly find themselves defending some expensive lawsuits when things go wrong, as they most assuredly will. I have no idea what's going to happen to sports when those born male want to try out for teams originally intended for those born female. What will happen to Title IX? By the way, the Olympic Committee tests participants to determine their sex for participation. And I remember when it was Princess Anne did not have to take the test as an equestrian when the Olympics was held in Southern California, where I was at the time, because she would have had a higher right to the throne if she had been male. So they said she didn't have to take the test. I guess everybody else did. It is my prediction, too, that you gentlemen will find those born female in your restrooms, too. Lines are always longer for the ladies' room, especially in sporting events and concerts. And women will declare they are feeling masculine that day and use the men's room because they are sick and tired of waiting in line to use the ladies' room. No one will dare challenge them. People in favor of this law look forward to forcing their beliefs on those of us who want to believe, worship, and live according to our beliefs. You saw last year in this very building how militant the group in favor of this bill can be. And if passed, they will use it to discriminate against us. This bill will end up violating my rights, our rights to religious liberty. I'll stand for questions. Thank you very much.
Are there questions? Thank you for coming today. Chief Mike Masterson.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chairman, and members of the House State Affairs Committee. My name is Mike Masterson. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about the importance of House Bill 2, adding the words as one of my final remarks I make as Boise's police chief. It is fitting that I am here today both as myself and my successor, Chief Bill Bones, feel the discussion around adding the words is, at its foundation, one of public safety, yours, mine, and every Idahoan's. We all have a stake in equal justice and fair treatment. Public safety is rooted in trust and justice. Citizens must first feel a sense of safety before they can realize the other aspects of our society that make it both functional and livable. For myself and my colleagues in law enforcement, public trust and confidence is the basis for the social compact we have as police officers with those that we serve. We need citizen trust for compliance with our laws, to solve problems, and establish policing priorities for our communities. We want people to be safe, and that includes safe from discrimination. A community that values safety and security for all is a community that is safer, period. In my 10 years as Boise Police Chief, I've heard concerns from hundreds of people on just about as many topics. But one of the most concerning to me was an email I received in 2012 from an individual whose friend was a victim of a crime. There was evidence that the victim was targeted because of his sexual orientation. That crime went unreported. That victim lacked the trust that the crime committed against them would be investigated as the hate crime it appeared to be. Unreported crime perpetuates crime. It nurtures a culture where offenders believe crime is tolerated and acceptable. That leads to increased fear, which creates a less safe environment. That is not what we want. In another recent email, a person described how they were beaten in the face and back one day in Boise, but were afraid of being outed because of the circumstances regarding the attack. The reporting officer stated a suspicion that the victim was not being completely forthright. Sad but true, as the victim felt compelled to lie about who did this and where it happened, because they had a greater fear of being outed as gay and specifically worried about being fired from their job. If you've paid attention to recent headlines here in Boise, officers have made several arrests in major cases, serious crimes of violence, thanks in large part to the information that's provided by our citizens, our victims and witnesses who trusted my officers and the justice system enough to come forward. Safety and security for all of us depends on all having trust that our police and justice system is here for us, yes, to enforce laws, but more importantly, to protect our civil and constitutional rights. In December of 2012, the City of Boise passed an ordinance that banned discrimination in housing, employment, and public places for reasons of sexual orientation or gender identity. 9 other cities have created similar laws, with more to come in 2015. The city of Boise had 2 formal complaints in 2013 and 0 complaints last year. The message is getting out and people are listening. We create laws not to measure our defects, but to send a clear message to society on how we are expected to treat each other and not to measure numbers. You have to admit, though, 0 is a pretty impressive number. 0 is success. 0 people discriminated against. 0 complaints. 0 lawsuits. 0 businesses adversely impacted. 0 complaints against our faith-based community during that time. I believe that ordinance has increased public safety in our city. Again, a community and a state that values safety and security for all is a safer community and state, period. Most of us were raised to use the principles of justice, what is fair and lawful, equitable and moral, to guide our daily contact with how we treat each other. Justice for me must include also protecting all citizens against becoming the victim of a crime, including the injustice of being denied housing or employment or refused a service based solely on their sexual orientation or gender identity. As a police officer, my heart and my experience tells me we will all enjoy a safer community if we add the words to include sexual orientation and gender identity protections in our state Human Rights Act. Thank you, and I have a copy of my prepared testimony, and I stand for questions.
Are there questions? Representative McCrosty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chief Masterson. My question is this: will your successor and will your organization, if this bill is passed, will you continue to enforce laws that prevent people from going into the wrong restroom?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Further questions? Representative Babb.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Chief Masterson, congratulations on your retirement. And I just wanted to clarify, did you say there were 0 complaints that have been filed?
There were 0 complaints in last year, 2014. There were 2 complaints in the first year of the ordinance, 2013.
Thank you for that clarification.
Mr. Chairman,
Representative Crane.
clarification, follow-up on Representative McCroskey's line of questioning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Police Chief. If someone is transgender, however, they can go into the restroom with the gender that they are currently claiming as their gender or that they've transitioned to. Is that correct?
Mr. Chair and Representative Crane, they do that now.
Thank you.
Further questions? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Now, let's see. Did you have luck reading this? D.W. Trantham?
Sorry. Okay, do I just start?
Go ahead.
All right, my name is D.W. Trantham. Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, I'm D.W. Trantham and I live in Boise, Idaho. I'm like any other teenage girl, probably a lot like your daughters or grandkids. I like makeup, mermaids, and fashion. But I've had to deal with more adversity than your average teen, because I'm a transgender teen. I'm here to testify in support of House Bill 2 and ask that the committee to approve adding sexual orientation and gender identity into the Idaho Human Rights Act. Nothing more, nothing less. The importance of this bill to me is to know that the people around me and I can live in a state where everyone is equal. But not in just our hearts and minds, but in the laws that guarantee the rights and protections that every Idahoan deserves. I'm here because I want to tell you my story. I was born a girl, but others thought I was a boy. I've had to fight all my life to receive acceptance. Living up to everyone's expectations of who I should be felt like a costume, but not a fun one like on Halloween, but a suffocating one. Growing up as a transgender girl in Idaho has been very difficult at times, mainly because of discrimination. I live a life where discrimination and prejudice is the norm. Schools used to force me to use the boys' bathroom, and now the nurses. They treated me as if I was wrong. They made me feel different. Teachers, the people who I was supposed to be able to rely on for a safe education, have called me it, sir, he, she, or whatever I am. My whole life, I've been bullied and even beaten up on a daily basis. I had built up so much self-hate because of this, I've wanted to kill myself. This all happened to me in just my 13 years of life. Imagine what a 33-year-old is going through, when they're just trying to make a living and stay alive. If we add the words, it gives me hope that I could be protected from the several forms of abuse I've experienced in my 13 years of life. It gives me hope that I can live in a state that values me and respects me as the woman I am growing to be and am. I've appeared in the local news media several times voicing my goals and dreams of acceptance for all. But my story is just one story. There are many across our state. Many people fight the same bullying, prejudice, and discrimination that don't have the chance to be here in front of you to share their support for this bill. Since I have been given this opportunity to let my voice be heard, imagine if I was your daughter or granddaughter. What sport team would you want me to play on? What clothes should I wear? What bathroom would you have me use? In closing, I would like to thank you for listening and ask you again to vote in favor of House Bill 2.
Are there questions? Thank you for coming. TM Trantham. Let me get a couple on deck here so we know where we're going. Jim Busby. Okay, let me get a couple others here. Michael Case.
He will be here this evening.
Jim Primrose. Oh, he doesn't want to testify. Let me see. Barbara Abersald. Probably messed that up. Mary Evelyn Smith. Gail Wild. And Babette Munting. No, that she didn't want. I guess Gail Wild didn't want to testify either. Sorry, I've got to watch my notes here. Mary Evelyn Smith. And let me get a couple more here. Michael Masterson. Oh, that Mike messed up. All right. Handwriting leaves something to be desired. Didn't Mary testify last night? Reverend Marcy Glass, Mark Harris, Cindy Gross. Will come forward if you've been called. Go ahead, sir. Sorry about that delay.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Tim Trantham. I live here in Boise, and I'm here in support of House Bill number 2. I request a committee to approve including sexual orientation and gender identity in the Idaho Human Rights Act. You heard my daughter DW's testimony. I was filled with pride seeing her bravery in front of everyone in this room here. I am a hammer-swinging construction worker who has built all over the state of Idaho, and I was at first very confused about transgender issues. I didn't even know what transgender is. After finding out that my child was transgender, I went through denial at first. I didn't know what to do, so I did what many other dads might do. I decided to put an end to it. I threw away makeup and girls' clothes. They kept coming back. I would find Barbies, and I would barbecue them on the barbecue grill. They kept coming back. I then started finding notes that said, I just want to die. I want to kill myself. I threw them out. They kept coming back. I saw the closeness and trust I had with my child had also gotten thrown out. I knew it was time to get it back. I realized it was time for a change. I faced my fears. I sought knowledge. And then I gave acceptance. When I learned about the high suicide rate in the trans community that is caused by a lack of acceptance from family, schools, churches, and many others in the community, and fueled by people just like I was, I decided to make it my mission not only for my daughter, but also for the others who face discrimination due to their sexual orientation or gender identity. I get the strength to do this by following my daughter DW's example. She has put herself out there on television and in the internet so that others like herself know that they are not alone. I see her struggles on a daily basis. Life is hard enough as a teenager, but imagine being a transgender teen with no protections in place to prevent these daily battles from bullying, issues with physical education, and even which bathroom is my child allowed to use. Because there are no protections currently in place for the LGBT community, we must all be ready at all time to fight these battles alone. The amount of time I have taken to speak to you, I have kept short. Many others wish to be heard. Thank you all for the opportunity. Please know that if a man like me can go from burning Barbies to buying bras, then there should be no chance for this bill to die in a committee filled with highly educated, elected officials who pledge to make Idaho a better state for all those who live here without exception. Please pass this bill, or it too will keep coming back. I will, DW will, and many others. Please add them and add the words. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there questions? Thank you, sir.